magazine news, and gossip. Have you ever wondered how a love story that once looked like a fairy tale can suddenly turn into a battlefield of accusations, heartbreak, and shocking revelations? What happens when the glamour of celebrity life collides with deep personal betrayal? And could one of the most admired actors of Turkey and Italy, Yaman, really have reached a point where forgiveness was no longer possible? Today, we dive into the story that has shaken both nations, a story of passion, scandal, and a mother's tears. This is not just gossip. This is the unraveling of a romance that many once believed would last forever. From the moment Yaman appeared on the screen, he captured the hearts of millions with his talent, charisma, and undeniable charm. Yet what has brought him into the spotlight recently is not his professional achievements, but the turbulent turns of his private life. His relationship with Sara, which began in Italy and was once painted as a perfect fairy tale romance, has now become the stage of endless crises and public debate. What was once celebrated as a magical connection between two people has turned into a headline-grabbing scandal that refuses to fade away. The latest chapter of this saga stunned fans across both Turkey and Italy. Yaman, in a statement that resonated like a thunderclap, declared that he had closed the doors of his family home to Sara forever. His words were stern, sharp, and left no room for reconciliation. From now on, Sara will no longer be allowed to enter my family's home. This is a matter of principle for me and a necessity for the peace of my family. These words, carried instantly by tabloids and amplified on social media, marked the dramatic end of their bond. But how did it all come to this? How did a story that began with sparkles of chemistry and public admiration deteriorate into mistrust, betrayal, and heartbreak? To answer that, we must revisit the beginning. The first meeting between Yaman and Sara was nothing short of cinematic. They crossed paths at a glittering party, surrounded by journalists, celebrities, and cameras flashing in every direction. Their chemistry was immediate and undeniable. Even the most skeptical entertainment reporters could not ignore the way they looked into each other's eyes, hand in hand, radiating a kind of passion that seemed destined to be remembered. At that moment, they were not just another couple in the spotlight. They were the talk of the town, the stars of what many believed would be an epic love story. For a time, their romance was exactly that, a beautiful tale of affection, intimacy, and companionship. Jan was deeply immersed in major projects in Italy, while Sara, a young woman who had already begun attracting attention in her social circles, stood by his side with visible pride. To the outside world, they were the perfect match. However, behind the glamorous images, cracks were beginning to form. As the months passed, disagreements began to surface. Rumors swirled that Sara was more concerned with maintaining her image in the press than nurturing her relationship with January. According to whispers in the tabloids, she constantly sought media attention, often clashing with Jan, who wanted to focus on his career and personal growth. These differences slowly escalated into disputes that became increasingly difficult to hide. Then came the accusation that shook the entire relationship to its core. Reports emerged claiming that Sara had placed a hidden camera inside Jan's home. The idea that someone so close to him would violate his trust in such an invasive way was devastating. When confronted, Jan's response was decisive. "I cannot continue with someone who does not trust me or who undermines my trust." These words reflected a breaking point, a boundary that Sara had crossed from which there was no return. The scandal had a profound effect, not only on Jan, but also on his family. His mother, Yaman, was especially devastated. Known for her protective nature, she could not bear the thought that her son had been betrayed in such a cruel manner. In private, she reportedly broke down in tears, confiding in close friends with heartbreaking words, "I am shattered that I could not protect my son from this. I should never have allowed anyone to hurt Jan in this way." These words did not stay private for long. Once they surfaced in the press, they resonated deeply with fans across the world. Social media exploded with support for Goldum, with thousands of posts carrying the hashtag Mother's Heart. The image of a mother crying over her son's pain struck a chord with countless followers who rallied behind her. For a while, Yaman maintained his silence. Many wondered if he would ever speak out, or if he would choose to let time bury the scandal. But when he finally broke his silence, his statement left no room for speculation. In his own words, "From now on, Sara will never again enter my family's home. No matter what happens, nobody can disturb my family's peace. For me, my family's honor stands above everything else." These powerful words instantly made headlines in both Turkey and Italy. They also marked a symbolic closure, a firm declaration that the chapter with Sara Bluma was over forever. Fans reacted swiftly. Hashtags like #JanYamanHakli, Jan Yaman is right, trended across platforms. Supporters praised him for defending his family and setting boundaries after such betrayal. Some of the most striking comments included, "Jan is absolutely right to protect his family. After such treachery, closing the door was the only correct decision." Another read, "Sara has sunk even lower. What she did to Jan was unforgivable." And perhaps the most emotional of all, "A son who sees his mother's tears will naturally speak with strength." Amid the storm, Sara Bluma, once known for her bold and frequent posts on social media, chose silence. Her absence of response only fueled further speculation. Was she overwhelmed by the backlash? Or did she know that nothing she could say would redeem her in the eyes of Jan, his family, or the public? For now, the answers remain hidden. What is clear, however, is that this love story, once described as a fairy tale, has ended in heartbreak and irreparable damage. The very romance that inspired admiration has now become a cautionary tale about trust, betrayal, and the costs of fame. As this saga continues to ripple through the media, one thing is certain: the world will not forget the scandal that tore apart Jan Yaman and Sara Bluma. Their story, filled with glamour, passion, and ultimate devastation, will remain a part of the cultural conversation for years to come. And so, dear viewers of magazine news and gossip, we reach the end of today's journey through the stormy waters of love and betrayal. But as we all know, in the world of celebrities, one story ends only for another to begin. Stay with us, because tomorrow might bring yet another twist, another revelation, and another scandal that will keep us all talking.